So this will be my final weekly video to you for this session. And today I want to talk a little bit about social emotional development with your 6 to 18-month-old baby. And so I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Inside Out, but this is one of my favorite ways of talking about emotional development because I think it provides such a neat visual for the idea that our children, have these different emotions, these different kind of competing emotions within them, as we all do. They have happiness, they have sadness, they have anger, they have fear. But one of my favorite scenes about that movie is that at the end, when the child whose brain all these emotions are operating inside is getting a little bit older, and there's that control panel where all of the emotions sit. There's this kind of cool scene at the end where all of a sudden now all of these new emotions are coming in. There's jealousy and there's frustration, and there's kind of this like leveling up of this control panel where there are all of these new emotions that are starting to arrive and to take a seat at the table. And so with your younger child, it is important to remember that a similar type thing is happening with their social emotional development during this time. They go from being very just need-based and need reaction-based creatures to beings that are a little bit more kind of three-dimensional and interesting and have kind of different types of motivations for their behaviors and have different feelings that they are coming to the table with. And so this is complicated by the fact that they can't really express those things all that well. And so there are a couple of things that I want to talk about today. One is that in line with that idea of building up their vocabulary, you don't want to neglect emotional vocabulary. It is really helpful to start getting in the habit and setting the stage at a young age for labeling what you see your child's emotional expression as being. You're frustrated. I see, oh, you're mad. You're mad that mommy said no. You are so frustrated that you can't, reach for that thing that you're trying so desperately to get to. Or you're so proud of yourself. I saw you did that and I see that look on your face and you're so proud of yourself. Being able to identify emotionally and give them those words for those things is helpful, both from just a useful parenting perspective, because when they are experiencing those things later, they're going to be more able to accurately identify them and then ask for the appropriate help. I'm frustrated. Can you help me? Is going to come a lot more easily when they have that structure in their brain already of you labeling for them. You seem frustrated. Can I help you? That's frustrating. Let mommy help you. And so, thinking about that idea of identifying their emotions, helping them to be able to attach like what that feeling feels like in their body with some words for that is going to serve both of you well for a long time. But the other part of that is also the idea of attunement. And I'm going to send you guys some links along with this video that talk about the ideas of attachment and attunement. And attunement is the idea of kind of being able to flow in sync with your child. There's also an expression that's used where they call it like serve and return. So that idea that from a very, very young age, your baby is putting out different cues for you. They're kind of if you picture like a tennis serve, is that how you serve? You throw? You shot? I'm not a tennis person, but that idea of like the back and forth, right? That part of tennis I get. So one person hits, another person returns, and so thinking about that idea that your baby is constantly putting out these kind of little volleys for you to kind of notice and pick up on and return back to them. You do this already a million times a day. Your child is giggling and laughing, and you mimic kind of that giggling and laughing behavior. Your child kind of makes a face or seems uncomfortable, and like really unconsciously, usually, like we kind of make that same concerned face back at them. Are you okay? You look uncomfortable. What's going on? We mimic our voice to even, kind of the most basic verbal utterances that they're giving us. We mimic back, if they're kind of doing their chit chat thing and it sounds like they're kind of ending in a question, we end back with a question. Like, we have kind of this instinct within us already. And so what I want to talk about today is just the importance of doing that, and the importance of, cueing yourself to make sure that, especially if you're having one of those days where you feel like, as we all do, your brain is pulled in 12 different directions, you have other things going on, that you're maybe taking a couple of those minutes to just stop, try to block everything else out. It goes back to kind of that mindfulness and prioritization stuff that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and just be able to really focus on, like, what is your baby serving you? What are they giving you? And it doesn't have to be engineered. It doesn't have to be a set up play activity or anything like that. It just has to be a couple of minutes in your day where you are consciously cueing yourself to just stop, look, listen, pay attention to what it is they're giving you, and to try to make sure that you're in tune with them, that you are giving them back that same level of energy, that same, those similar facial expressions, and that you are helping them to feel seen and heard. And I give this reminder just because, again, especially in times when we're spending a lot of time physically with our children, which a lot of us are right now, we almost take for granted that, like, that kind of closeness or that attunement is there because we're just always together. But when your mind is on something else, again, like so many of us are, you're trying to run a household, we're trying maybe to maintain some type of social life, we're trying to, do all of these things in new and different ways. This is just your reminder to not let that piece slip through the cracks, and to kind of notice that, like, if it just feels like you and your child are out of sync, you probably are, but it doesn't take that much to be able to get back into that nice little serve and return flow, just by stopping and paying attention. And the thing that, really benefits that is that when your child starts with that really secure basis, even as a younger baby or older infant or toddler, of feeling seen and heard and understood, that provides a basis for them to not have to worry about that relationship. And that is the basis of attachment, is when they feel like the parents, they got me. Like, these people who are around me all the time, like, they get it. Like, not only are they doing a great job of meeting my physical needs, but they also understand when I don't feel good. They're recognizing that. And not only are they maybe trying to help, but they're just giving me that validation of, like, oh, I hear you, buddy. This is tough. Yes, you're frustrated. I see that. And they are seeing in your body language, in the way that you're speaking to them, that you get them. And when they have that solid foundation of that attachment, that is what allows them to be more confident in everything else. That is what allows them to learn and grow and flourish. And so, that idea of practicing those moments of attunement really does a lot for a young child in being able to cement that attachment. And, just thinking about, as your child grows, that is also setting up a pattern and a foundation for when the feelings get bigger and more complicated, the problems get bigger and more complicated, the frustrations are maybe not as easy to solve. They have that awareness, that understanding that they will be seen and heard by you in their frustrations, and that you will, even if you can't solve it for them, you will be present with them for that. And so just think about this. Think about that idea of your baby's emotional life becoming more complicated as they grow into toddlers. Think about, that idea of what it must feel like to be them in kind of this different kind of world right now. Think about the way that they are also attuned to your voice and your facial expressions, and what they might actually be kind of returning back to you that you're serving to them, which we don't realize sometimes, how much they actually are cued in to the way that we are. And just think about, when and where some of those little corrections might need to be made. And I just want to say, as always, like, we're all human. We all have frustrated days. We all vent to our partners about, the frustrations of the world, or the frustrations, within our home. We all have tense moments. We're never going to be 100% locked into our children all the time, nor should we be. That's, kind of going over the line into some unhealthy attachment stuff. But this is just kind of that reminder of, like, if you're feeling out of sync, these are some things that you can do about that, and why those things are important. So I hope that was helpful. Again, I'm going to send along some attachments that support some of this information that I just talked about. And I hope, as always, that you guys are healthy, happy, and doing well. And I hope to reconnect with you all soon as it's safe to do so. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.